In the headlines, federal government links Owo church attack to ISWAP. Angry youths set motorcycles ablaze after bike accident kills one in Lagos. Adewale Adebayo emerges SDP presidential candidate. Away from Nigeria, 7th missing miner found dead in Burkina Faso mine months after flooding. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. And now the details. The federal government has linked the fighters of the Islamic State of West Africa province to the attack on a Catholic church in Owo, Ondo State. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, disclosed this on Thursday while briefing State House reporters after a meeting of the National Security Council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. He said the government had been able to locate the perpetrators of the Owo attack and zeroed in on ISWAP terrorist group. The minister, who briefed alongside Inspector General of Police Alkali Baba Usman, said security agencies had been directed to go after the perpetrators of the act and bring them to justice. Police in Ondo State deny report on attacks on Hausa community in Sabo area of the state. A statement signed by the police spokesperson, Odunlami Fumilayo, said that there was no reprisal attack on the Hausa community at Sabo area in Ondo State or in Ondo town or any part of the state. The statement explained that what happened on Tuesday, June 7th, was an attempted robbery on a J5 vehicle with plate number MKA 469YJ carrying onions and potatoes coming from Zaria heading to Ore, which had a stopover at Ondo town but was attacked by gunmen. The statement said that the robbers shot the driver while the motorboy escaped with bullet injury. A motorcyclist and a passerby were also hit by stray bullets. The police insist that the victims involved in the failed robbery are from Yoruba, Igbo, and Northern extraction. Sarikin Hausawa of Ondo State, Abdul Salam Yusuf, has however told Daily Trust that 5 people were killed in Sabo, an area predominantly occupied by Northerners, when the gunmen struck. Meanwhile, the death toll in the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in our Ondo State has risen to 40, with 26 survivors discharged from hospitals days after the incident. Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State disclosed this when he hosted a team of Catholic bishops from the southwest, led by the Most Reverend Leke Agbegunrin, on Wednesday. A statement issued by the governor's chief press secretary, Richard Olatunde, quoted Akeredolu as saying that the latest figure followed an update from the medical team led by the Commissioner for Health. According to the Ondo leader, the new figure followed the harmonization of reports from the various hospitals, including the private ones, urging people to disregard earlier figures. He also disclosed that the government is accepting donations from individuals and groups who want to help the families of the victims, adding that the move became imperative following a series of calls from several quarters. The Nigerian Bar Association has expressed worry over the rising cases of insecurity and killing of innocent Nigerians across the country. The NBA President Olumide Akpata made the statement in Ilorin, the state capital, during the state capital of Kwara, during the meeting of the National Executive Council of the association, where he stressed the need for Nigerians to hold government accountable for failure to protect their lives and properties. He noted that the recent killings of worshippers at a Catholic church in our Ondo State is worrisome. Government at all levels, he added, should step up and find solutions to the incessant killings in the country. A minute silence was observed for the repose of the souls of the dead across the country.
The life of every Nigerian is equally precious, And the sooner that the government of the day realizes this and takes decisive action to protect and safeguard the lives of our people, the more likely it is that terrorists will not be deterred from attacking Nigerians. I must state without equivocation that notwithstanding one's religion or ethnicity, there are certain standards which we must all subscribe to. The first of these is that of the sanctity of life. The furore caused by the arbitrary killing which threw the entire nation into shock and disbelief had barely died down when we received news that gunmen had all gone ahead to kill at least 12 people, including a pregnant woman and her 4 children in a community in Anambra State. There is a Daily Trust newspaper report that claims that 121 Nigerians have been killed in 11 attacks in the last 5 months in Birnin Gwari alone. There could be no better illustration of the failure of security than this. Above all, the nation was horrified by the shocking news of the killing of worshippers in a Catholic church in Owo, Ondo State, by armed gunmen on Sunday the 5th of June 2022 during Mass. Governments at all levels to task to ensure that they step up and carry out their primary responsibility, which is to safeguard the lives and properties of Nigerians. This is all the more imperative as we approach another election season that characteristically witnesses a spike in insecurity challenges.
Youths at Jakonde Estate, Isolo, on Thursday set ablaze over 20 commercial motorcycles, popularly known as Okada, after an accident involving an Okada man left one person dead. According to an eyewitness, the incident occurred after a rider plying a one-way route reportedly knocked down a pedestrian who died immediately. In retaliation, youths in the area hijacked motorcycles in sight and set them on fire. While reacting to the incident, the Lagos State Police spokesman, Benjamin Hundeyin, said that the divisional police officer in the area, Folarunsho Gabriel, responded to the emergency immediately, rescuing the suspect from the mob attack and evacuating the corpse from the scene. Normalcy has returned to the area as security operatives are on the ground to forestall further mob action. One person has been killed and properties, including vehicles, shops and veterinary school, burned on Thursday morning after a fuel-laden tanker fell at the Polo roundabout area of Jos North Local Government Council of Plateau State. Spokesperson of the Plateau State Police Command, DSP Alfred Alabo, confirmed the incident but couldn't ascertain the casualty figure. He said that the command is making efforts to unravel the cause of the accident. The deceased, who was said to be the driver of the tanker, was discovered in a gutter around the scene of the incident. Reports say that the incident happened around 5 a.m. on Thursday when the tanker had an accident and ran into a fuel station close to the veterinary school. Lagos-based businessman Adewale Adebayo has emerged SDP presidential candidate in Abuja. The election held at the International Conference Center. In attendance, delegates and party stalwarts from the 36 states of the Federation. Adebayo got 1,546 votes to beat his female opponent, Khadija Okunu Lamidi, who scored 84 votes only. Adebayo pledged to run an all-inclusive government if elected president in 2023 election. National chairman of the party, Shehu Gabam, lamented the failure of the leadership in the country since the attainment of independence in 1960, adding that the SDP has considered it expedient to present itself to Nigerians as a veritable alternative that will lead the country to greater heights. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, has called on officers to remain apolitical before, during and after the 2023 elections to ensure credibility of the process. Yahaya made the call at the opening ceremony of a three-day second senior command and leadership seminar organized by the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army.
Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, represented by Major General Victor Ezugu, said he expects appropriate lines of communications between relevant security stakeholders to be established to facilitate cooperation during planning, preparation and execution of operations to aid civil authorities. The Army Chief expressed optimism that the seminar will afford participants opportunity to build on their individual capacity and contribute meaningfully towards enhancing Army operations.
All Nigerian Army personnel must also act within the ambit of laws and remain guided by provisions of the extant rules of engagement and code of conduct for the forthcoming election in 2023.
Major General Ezugu maintained that troops should be adequately trained, equipped and motivated to play their constitutional role in supporting the country's security apparatus.
It is desirable that all our troops are adequately trained, equipped and motivated to play their constitutional roles in support of the federal government of Nigeria. Must also act within the ambit of laws and remain guided by provisions of the extant rules of engagement and code of conduct for the forthcoming election in 2023.
Major General Ezugu maintained that troops should be adequately trained, equipped and motivated to play their constitutional role in supporting the country's security apparatus.
It is desirable that all our troops are adequately trained, equipped and motivated to play their constitutional roles in support of the federal government of Nigeria.
On his part, the Chief of Training, Major General Abdul Salam Ibrahim, noted that non-kinetic line of operations is essential in tackling contemporary security challenges, adding that it is currently being reviewed to enable the Nigerian Army to meet its constitutional mandate.
The theme of the seminar for this year is aptly enhancing the capacity of Nigerian Army senior leader commanders for optimal performance in a complex operating environment.
Also speaking, the General Officer commanding 6th Division of the Nigerian Army, Port Harcourt, Major General Olufemi Oluyede, expressed confidence that the workshop will further drive the vision and philosophy of the Chief of Army Staff. He added that it is designed to equip senior commanders and military leaders with skills and mindset needed to better protect and preserve the integrity of the Nigerian Army in an increasing political environment.
It's designed to equip the senior commanders and military leaders with skills and mindset needed to better protect and preserve the cherished image of the Nigerian Army in an increasingly political environment of the present-day command.
Correspondent reports that training was tagged building the capacity of the Nigerian Army to meet contemporary security challenges in a joint environment, the role of senior leadership.
You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up shortly. How uncompleted building occupants survive in Abuja. Details and more after the break. Join us again. Thanks for staying. You're watching the news update on Trust Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories again. Federal government links our church attack to ISWAP. Angry youth set motorcycles ablaze after bike accident kills one in Lagos. Now, families of passengers abducted on the Abuja-Kaduna train have dismissed as false news circulating on social media on the purported release of the passengers. In a short statement released by Abdul Fatai Jimo and Baba Abba Muhammad, the relatives of the victims asked members of the public to disregard the story. One of the greatest challenges of emerging and fast-developing cities in housing is housing deficits, especially for low-income earners thronging the city centers for greener pastures. Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, being one of the cities faced with these challenges, has seen many residents take dreadful measures, such as living in uncompleted buildings that dot the length and breadth of the city center, despite the dreadful living conditions. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu went round the city of Abuja to speak with some residents living in these buildings and now reports.
The nation's capital has for a long time been reputed for uncompleted or perhaps completed unoccupied buildings, especially within the metropolis and the suburban areas, with high proliferation of houses and estates. Despite the number of houses and estates, residents have continued to grow under the high cost of house rents by landlords, and this has forced many to take refuge in uncompleted buildings.
These families living at one of the uncompleted buildings within Abuja metropolis say they lack basic amenities, but they are, however, thankful to the owner of the building for allowing them live there.
The
reason why I'm here is because my house was demolished in Karu and I didn't have anywhere to stay. I didn't have anything to do, so I came down here and I was employed as a security man. I've been living here for 8 years.
We found ourselves in this situation after my husband and I separated. I have 2 orphans, and this kind man offered us his uncompleted building for us to stay for free. And we are really grateful to him because we have a roof over our head, and we are happy to some extent because we have food to eat, and we stay here peacefully.
The quest for daily survival leaves them with no option than petty trading. They appeal to the government to look the way of people like them who are downtrodden and abandoned.
I'm pleading to government to come to the aid of those of us who are elderly and helpless.
Asking the government for much, anything they can give us is fine. We will appreciate because they are not responsible for us. If the landlord asks us to leave, we will leave and find somewhere else to stay.
The trend of living in uncompleted buildings may not be new, but it has taken a worrisome dimension lately as many of the residents have been moving from one uncompleted space to the other to access shelter as the Federal Capital Territory continues to record high influx of people seeking better living conditions. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Daily Trust Foundation has flagged off the training of over 20 journalists in Kano on budget tracking and investigation of public expenditure. Idris Jibrin reports that the exercise is expected to last for 3 days.
Drawn from the northwest region of Nigeria, this 3-day regional training of the Daily Trust Foundation is expected to expose participating media practitioners on budget tracking and investigating public expenditure across their respective places of primary assignments.
Program facilitators that we have lined up would educate journalists who ask which realm of the estate are you? Fourth. When you are educated, the general public or majority of the general public would be educated.
According to Kano State Government, the training of journalists on budget tracking and public expenditure could not have come at a better time than now, when the state is so much interested in seeing professional journalism practice across the country.
The choice of the theme of the workshop, I must say, is very timely, considering the unfortunate situation we find ourselves today in this country, where almost everything don't seem to be working as it should, just for the simple reason that some people somewhere for quite some time have not been doing the right thing.
Meanwhile, participants believe that the training will in no doubt assist them in discharging their duties of holding government and other public officials accountable.
In budget tracking, it's a big thing as far as Nigeria is concerned. Most government of these days, they hardly allowed the citizens to know about the level of implementation of budget in terms of deployment and in terms of the financial aspect of it. But when journalists are now equipped, people like me and you are now fully equipped, and we are able to lay down our hands on this vital information, I think it will be a great deal for the citizens of this country.
A situation whereby you have a document that is over 3,000 pages, and with a lot of figures are things that journalists ordinarily, because we are not science students, so ordinarily we run away from. But this training is going to, I hope the training is going to really expose us to how to convert those bulky documents and the data into simple language that we ourselves can understand and make the general public to also understand.
In the next 3 days, participants will be expected to fully understand how best to track budget and investigate public expenditures. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
The Nasarawa State House of Assembly says it has passed 13 bills into law and arrived at 11 resolutions between June 2021 and June 2022. Speaker of the House of Assembly, Ibrahim Balarabe Abdullahi, disclosed this in his remarks to mark the end of the third session of the 6th Nasarawa Assembly legislative year in Lafia. Abubakar Abdullahi's report is presented in our studios.
The Nasarawa State Assembly Speaker, Ibrahim Balarabe Abdullahi, who lauded members' high sense of dedication and patriotism will discharge their duties in the year under review, said their contributions have positively impacted on the lives of the citizens. He said records on the bill and resolution passed by the current legislature exceeded the previous assemblies.
From available record before me, it is evident that this Honorable House, within the period under review, passed a total of 13 bills, while 8 others are in various stages of passage. Let me quickly add that a total of 11 resolutions also saw the light of the day within the section. You will recall that during the inauguration of this assembly 3 years ago today, I assured the people of the state that we will strive to surpass the achievement of past assemblies. And from all indications, our performance as spelled out today, it is a clear testimony to the fact that we are indeed on course to doing just that.
He congratulated members that won in the recent conducted primaries in the states and advised those who lost to take it as the will of God.
That having acquitted themselves with such level of distinction, the principle of reciprocity should have resulted in honorable members being automatically endorsed as candidates of APC. However, as we are all men of faith, it is incumbent on us to accept what happened as the will of God. I would therefore urge those of us who lost the primaries not to lose hope, as the sacrifices which they made will not go in vain.
The Speaker also assured staff of the Assembly that issues relating to their welfare and working conditions will continue to receive the necessary attention.
And in business news, Nigeria spent 896.7 billion naira on domestic and foreign debt servicing in the first quarter of 2022, representing a 12% year-on-year decline from 1.02 trillion naira spent in the corresponding period of 2021. In its external and domestic debt service payment reports for the first quarter of 2022, the Debt Management Office said that of this amount, 668.7 billion naira was spent on domestic debt service, representing a 9.0% year-on-year rise when compared to the 612.7 billion naira spent in the first quarter of 2021. Reports also shows that the 228 billion naira was expended on servicing of external debt during the period, representing a 44% year-on-year decline from 410.1 billion naira spent in the first quarter of 2021. Away from Nigeria, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Thursday called for Russia to be expelled from the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, blaming Moscow for spurring the global grain crisis by invading his country. Zelensky told delegates at a Paris meeting of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, via video link that there can't be any discussion on prolonging Russia's membership in the FAO. Active in 130 countries worldwide, the FAO's mission is to achieve food security for all. Ukraine's Black Sea ports usually export millions of tons of grain each year, but have been blocked since Moscow's late February invasion. Still on the foreign scene, rescue workers have found no survivors in a rescue chamber deep inside a flooded zinc mine in Burkina Faso, the government and the mine owner said on Tuesday, all but extinguishing hope that 8 missing miners could still be alive after a month. The Perquoa mine, owned by Canadian firm Trevally Mining Corp., and located about 120 kilometers west of the capital, Ouagadougou, was abruptly submerged on April 16 after torrential rain fell unexpectedly during the country's dry season. And that's a wrap on Trust News Update. You can watch more by clicking the subscribe button on our YouTube and also follow us across all social media platforms. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching.